In 1969, deep in a Siberian coal mine, something impossible was found. Buried 230 feet underground, sealed in solid rock, was an 8.5-foot-long marble sarcophagus, untouched for what some scientists estimated to be 800 million years. When the miners pried it open, they expected bones, dust, decay. Instead, they found something that defied logic. Inside lay a perfectly preserved woman, her skin whiter than snow, submerged in a mysterious pink liquid. Her clothing, her features, even the strange black box beside her, none of it belonged to any known civilization. The moment the liquid was drained, her body changed before their eyes. Within days, the Soviet authorities arrived. The site was locked down. The discovery was erased. The witnesses were silenced. But if none of it was real, why did people start dying? Let's find out what happened to Tisul Princess. What happened in September of 1969 wasn't just another day in a Siberian coal mine. This was something out of a science fiction movie, except every person who witnessed it swore it was real. Deep in the remote village of Rizhavchik, a group of miners were going about their daily work, 230 feet underground. It was business as usual until a single swing of a pickaxe changed everything. Instead of striking coal, one miner hit something solid but hollow. The sound was different, unnatural, not rock, not metal, something else. Curiosity took over. More strikes, more digging, and then the wall collapsed. The dust settled, and what they saw left them completely frozen. There, hidden in the darkness for what seemed like millions of years, was a massive marble sarcophagus, 8.5 feet long, 3 feet high, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Smooth, exquisite, completely intact. At this point, the head of the mining district, Alexander Masaligin, was called in, and when he arrived, he knew immediately that this was no ordinary find. The news spread like wildfire. This was a mystery wrapped in stone, buried in time. And then, the real shocker, the miners decided to open it. What lay inside defied every scientific explanation possible. The sarcophagus held the perfectly preserved body of a woman. And when I say preserved, I mean she looked more alive than the miners themselves. She was young, estimated to be between 25 and 30 years old, with long, dark brown hair flowing past her waist. Her skin was smooth and impossibly white, whiter than anyone had ever seen, almost luminous. And then came the strange part. She was submerged in a strange pink liquid, like some kind of otherworldly embalming fluid. But it didn't stop there. Next to her head was a small black metal box, something completely unfamiliar to the miners at the time. Decades later, some would say it looked eerily similar to a modern smartphone. But in 1969, there was no frame of reference for such a thing. Oh, and her clothing? This wasn't fabric that existed in any Soviet textile factory. A translucent white dress, made of something unknown, otherworldly. This was not normal. Some miners were terrified. Some were in awe. But one? He made a mistake he wouldn't live to regret. He decided to dip his finger into the pink liquid. Maybe he thought it was harmless. Maybe he thought it was something valuable. Whatever he thought, he went one step further. He tasted it. At first, nothing happened. But within a week, his mind started slipping. He became disoriented and confused. He couldn't even recognize his own home. The Siberian winter was brutal, and in his weakened, delirious state, he wandered out into the cold and froze to death. He wasn't the only one to die after coming into contact with the sarcophagus. The Tisul Princess, as she would later be called, seemed to come with a curse. It didn't take long before word reached the Soviet authorities. Suddenly, everything escalated. High-ranking officials, police officers, KGB agents in civilian clothing, and even military personnel descended on the site. A red helicopter landed, and just like that, the entire area was placed on lockdown. And this wasn't just for scientific curiosity. This was a full-scale cover-up. The villagers, the miners, they were pushed back. The KGB warned them that this could be dangerous, that the sarcophagus might contain infectious material. But let's be honest, no one believed that excuse. The goal was clear: secure the sarcophagus, get it out of there, and keep this thing under wraps. But here's where things took an even stranger turn. The plan was to airlift the sarcophagus out of the mine, but there was a problem. It was too heavy. So the scientists decided to drain the pink liquid, hoping to make it lighter. And that's when something unbelievable happened. The moment the liquid was removed, the woman's body began to change. Her glowing white skin darkened within minutes, turning ashen, lifeless. It was as if the liquid had been the key to her preservation, and now that it was gone, she was decaying before their eyes. If there was ever proof that this wasn't just some ancient burial site, this was it. But where was she from? And how old was she? The sarcophagus, the woman, the strange liquid, all of it was sent to Novosibirsk for further study, and what scientists found was beyond comprehension. Dating techniques were completely thrown off. Standard radiocarbon dating didn't work. This wasn't just some 10,000-year-old artifact. No, this thing was ancient beyond imagination. The layers of geological strata suggested an age of 800 million years. Let me repeat that. 800 million years. To put that into perspective, that's before the dinosaurs. That's before complex life as we know it even existed on Earth. So how could a human woman be buried in a sarcophagus that old? There were only two possible explanations, and neither one made sense. Either human civilization is far older than we think, so old that our entire timeline of history needs to be rewritten, or she wasn't human at all. Think about it. Her pure white skin, her mysterious clothing, the strange black box beside her, which some now say looked eerily like a modern smartphone. What if she was extraterrestrial? If she wasn't from Earth, then she must have come from a planet with much less sunlight, somewhere far away, where life evolved in a completely different way. And here's where it gets even crazier. What if she wasn't buried at all? What if she was placed in that sarcophagus deliberately, to be found at the right time? Could she have been in some kind of stasis, waiting to wake up? If so, did the miners interrupt something that wasn't meant to be disturbed? Here's something you need to understand. This wasn't just some ancient mystery. This happened in 1969, at the peak of the Cold War. And if there's one thing we know about the Soviet Union, it's that they were obsessed with secrecy, power, and controlling information. When the story started spreading, they acted fast. The KGB returned to the village. They labeled the entire thing as a hoax, destroyed newspaper copies, and silenced anyone who spoke about it. The professor who first shared the discovery, punished. The newspaper editor who dared to print it, gone. For decades, no one spoke of the Tisul Princess, until the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 1990s, when the story resurfaced. In 2002, an article appeared in a small Siberian newspaper titled, "The Lady Who Was 800 Million Years Old." The journalist claimed that a retired KGB colonel had come forward with classified information. He confirmed everything: the sarcophagus, the mysterious woman, the black box, the government cover-up. And this time, people were listening. Near the village of Rzhavchik, a memorial plaque was even installed. It reads, "In 1969, not far from here, a burial site was discovered during the development of a coal seam. In a 2-meter marble sarcophagus lay a beautiful young woman. Based on the age of the coal seam in which the sarcophagus was found, the woman was buried several 100 million years ago." So here's the question: why would locals build a memorial for something that never happened? Now let's talk about something truly chilling. Because years after the discovery, people started dying. Just 6 months after the KGB confiscated the sarcophagus, tragedy swept through the village of Rzhavchik. It all started with Ivan Kornikov, the miner who first struck the sarcophagus. He was killed in a freak motorcycle accident. A man who never drank, but was suddenly declared drunk when he crashed into a truck. Then another miner drowned mysteriously, despite being a strong swimmer. And it didn't stop there. The people who had been closest to the discovery, one by one, they vanished. The only survivor, geologist Vladimir Podreshetnikov, and he came forward with a shocking claim: the Tisul Princess wasn't the only one. In the summer of 1973, Soviet military forces once again descended upon the Tisul district. The area was completely locked down. No one was allowed to enter or leave. Armed soldiers patrolled the streets. Why? Because in the middle of a nearby lake, on a small island, they had found 2 more sarcophagi. According to a declassified KGB report, these sarcophagi were 8 feet long, just like the first one, but this time, they were estimated to be 200 million years old. The villagers were ordered to stay alert. All evidence was taken to Moscow. And then, the mine where the Tisul Princess was discovered completely shut down in 1972. Why was this covered up? If the Tisul Princess was real, then everything we know about history is wrong. Was she part of an ancient civilization lost to time? Did she belong to a highly advanced race that lived on Earth before humans? Or was she something else entirely? Some believe she was an extraterrestrial, a visitor who crash-landed on Earth, placed in stasis, waiting for her people to find her. And if that's true, was she ever meant to be found? Could the black box beside her have been a tracking device, a beacon, a way to call for help? And did the Soviet Union learn something they weren't supposed to know? The final mystery. What happened to the evidence? Here's the frustrating part. We may never know the full truth. Every photograph, every video recording, every piece of documentation, gone. The scientists involved, silent. The records, classified. The sarcophagi, never seen again. But the stories remain. And the witnesses who were there that day, they still swear it happened. So here's the big question. Was this the greatest archaeological discovery in human history? Or was it something so unbelievable, so dangerous, that it had to be erased from existence? What do you think? Do you believe the Tisul Princess was real? Was she an ancient human, an extraterrestrial, or something even stranger? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you love mysterious discoveries like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because trust me, there's so much more to uncover. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.